to Across the Grooves. It's another freebie game. It's a visual novel, and there's choices that you make that affect the story. Make wise choices, or be a shambles. That's my way normally. I don't know if you're picking it up, but the soundtrack to this game has the crackle of a vinyl record playing, and it keeps distracting me because I'm used to the artificially clean sound of all music now, and you got a record crackle. It's a nice effect. So we are going to play Across the Grooves. I went in. The volume in this game goes up to 11. This is volume setting 3. And this is not quiet. I mean, it's not drowning me out. So I'm really sure 11 would be unbearable for me to actually speak to you over. And we're playing Across the Grooves. Across the Grooves is an interactive graphic novel. During your adventure, you'll be asked to make choices that will define how your story progresses. When one of your decisions influences the personality of the main character, Alice, 1 or 2 symbols light up at the top of the screen. I paused then because it's like, is that personality? Have I read that right? I did. I'm influencing her personality. There's a lot of pressure. I'm not just making decisions, I'm changing who she is as a person. The spiral. The lightning. The flower. The skull. Across the Grooves, some scenes are sung. Yay! When that's the case, the lyrics will be displayed in special dialogue bubbles like this one. So that's what I was talking about before. Of course, you can keep reading at your own rhythm, but if you want to hear the full song, you'll have to adjust your reading speed to the rhythm of the lyrics. In Across the Grooves, your progress is saved automatically. You won't be able to change the decisions you've made. However, the sum of your choices always leads to different scenarios. It's impossible to lose in Across the Grooves. Choose wisely. Alice. The interphone buzzes again as I'm putting on my blouse. Alice, can you get that, please? At this time in the morning, it's probably a delivery. I wonder what Jean-Baptiste has ordered this time. I quickly finish dressing and hurry to answer the interphone. The delivery man, who I thank for his patience, tells me in a toneless voice that yes, there's a package for me. A few minutes later, I'm back in my kitchen. I've made myself a coffee, and with a sense of foreboding, I look at the flat, square package which dominates the kitchen table. Jean-Baptiste comes into the kitchen, absently buttoning his shirt. He jerks his head towards the package and peers at me. What's that? I think it's a record, a vinyl. The shape of the package is so distinctive that my guess is almost a certainty, and the handwriting leaves me no possible doubt. I recognise the hesitant, disjointed writing of I'm going to say Ulysses. I know it doesn't say that, but I have no idea how to pronounce that. I'm going to say Ulysses. I'm aware that's not what's written down there. Ulysses, a record store owner with whom I've shared several years of my life before I met Jean-Baptiste a little over 3 years ago. As I've had no news from Ulysses since the night we split up, getting a package from him is unexpected to say the least. Jean-Baptiste gives me a quizzical stare. I've no reason to lie to him yet. You've not given me any reason to think it's that kind of relationship. I think it was Ulysses who sent it to me. Your ex? Yes, I'm just as surprised as you are. I swear I haven't been in contact with him at all since we broke up. Jean-Baptiste moves closer and strokes his fingers gently through my hair. You should open it. Maybe there's a note, an explanation. He was part of your life for a long time and you were part of his. I guess if he's decided to contact you now, it's something important. You're right. I've got to run. My father has some big Chinese clients coming to the castle at lunchtime. I have to organise the meeting with the cellar master. See, I was honest with him, and now he's not going to hover and see what it is. He's doing me some trust. He's doing me a trusting. So that was probably the right call. He plants a quick kiss on my lips. Shall we meet up at the brasserie this evening? I might finish late. I remember that we're planning dinner this evening with my brother and my sister-in-law. Yes, okay, let's meet there. It's easier. I wait, listening to his footsteps go down the stairs, and I fade before I return to the kitchen to open the package. I need a little privacy to deal with the intrusion of this ghost from my past. That's weird. I'm seeing that for you, you're seeing the bottom of that dialogue box completely. I can read the intrusion of this ghost from my past, but I can't see the bottom of the Y and the bottom of the P. It's cut off at the bottom of my screen. So, yeah, you're getting a better view of this than me. At least I can actually read the dialogue. When it's absolutely at the bottom, I can still read what it says. I grab a large chef's knife from the worktop and slice it along the fold, cleanly slicing the seal off of brown packing tape. Do you really want to slice a kitchen knife against the vinyl someone sent you? Vinyl. Kitchen knife, vinyl. Inside there's a record, a 45, a 7-inch as the English call them. We actually do. Well, we did. No one calls anything anymore. But yeah, we called them 7 inches when they were singles. The single size. It's protected by a new sleeve, white card without anything written that could give me some idea of what's actually pressed into the grooves. Knowing Ulysses' passion for rare records, it's probably a white label, a test pressing, sent to the record company by the factory to check the track order and general sound quality before mass producing the record. I carefully slide the record out of its jacket. There's no label in the middle to tell me more of its contents. What I suppose to be the A side is cut in one single piece, which leaves one to suppose that it's a 45. As for the B side, it's bare of any grooves. The black shiny surface of the record seems to reflect my confusion back at me. Why? And particularly, why now? It's been more than 3 years since Ulysses vanished from my life. 3 years without a word. What could have driven him to send me a record now without the least explanation? I check the clock on the wall above the door. I still have 15 minutes before I need to leave for the office, which leaves me plenty of time to listen to the record, which can't last more than about 5 minutes, maybe 7, 8 maximum. This angle makes it look like we're upskirting her. Can I just say? I pick up the packaging to put it in the wastebasket and take a moment to inspect it again, checking there's no note or anything hidden in a fold. Nothing. And no return address either. The postmark tells me that the parcel was posted from Paris, the 10th arrondissement. I take the record and hesitate again. Do I really want to revisit the past now before work? Or wouldn't it be better to wait till this evening? I want to listen to it. I decide not. This can't wait. In any case, if I don't listen to the record now, I won't be able to think of anything else all day. I go into the living room. The hi-fi has been relegated to a corner of the room behind the couch. As I lift the cover of the turntable, dust floats up into the room. Jean-Baptiste prefers the background noise of the TV, so naturally I've stopped listening to music since we moved in together. I plug in the headphones and put them over my ears.
The night is upon me. A dark alley of cobblestone, glittering in the drizzling rain. I take the last turn on my cigarette. A door opens, a door opens. One pulls out through a crack, a distant trumpet rolls louder. A thunderstorm, you look at me, inviting me in. I follow you inside to draws my pain, to draws my pain. In this sea of others together, but in you're tearing me apart. I'm shrinking, you're the one who grows distant. But it's me who's shrinking. I'm becoming someone else in your absence. Still together, already alone.
Ulysses. He turns and gazes at me sadly. I remember this evening perfectly. This is the day I met Jean-Baptiste. And this is the day Ulysses and I said goodbye. For weeks our relationship had been withering away. I think we both knew that sooner or later it was coming to an end. He was eking out a living with his record store, and me, I'd already started to want something else. That was the evening he left me. Yeah? I just came to see if you were okay. I am... Sorry? Yes, I'm sorry too. Ulysses lowers his eyes remorseful. I'm gonna go. This was a bad idea. I shouldn't have come here tonight. He goes out the door and moves away. For a moment I falter. Perhaps I should let him go as he does in my memory. I should push my way to the bar to order a double whiskey and let Jean-Baptiste buy it for me, then go for coffee with him a few days later. Ulysses! He stops and looks at me startled. In a few strides I catch up with him. What a strange dream. Why did you send me a record? A record? I didn't send you any record. Yes, you did. It arrived this morning. White sleeve, no labels. Does that ring a bell? Ulysses looks terrified. You weren't supposed to listen to it. Listen, Alice. You have to go back to the bar. You have to do everything like the first time, like in your memory. There may still be time to avoid disaster. What disaster? Ulysses, please tell me. I need to understand. Everything I've done, I did for you. Trust me, Alice, I promise you don't want to know more. Around us, the world is beginning to break apart. It's too late. I hear the rhythm far away. It rushes towards me like a galloping horse, and I'm engulfed by the music once more.
You're tearing me apart. I'm shrinking, you're the one who grows distant. But it's me who's shrinking. I'm becoming someone else in your absence. myself again.
Okay. So that is a cool premise. I like that, because the visual novel thing is it will give you a little narrative and then it will say, you say this or you say that, or you decide this or you decide that. You go with him or you stay with him. You say yes or you say no. You open it now, you open it later. You listen to it now, you listen to it later. And it's done it in the song where you can choose how the song goes. The song goes, you go into the bar, or you don't go into the bar. Or you give a positive response or a negative response. So you're making decisions within the lyrics of the song. That's new for me. That's new to me. I like that. Bordeaux. I stay where I am, sat by the record player, the stylus circling the central groove and unceasing hiss in my ears. Did I fall asleep? What happened? I take off the headphones and then replace the tone arm on its rest. I try to get my thoughts in order. I haven't thought of Ulysses in months. I never understood why we broke up. Our relationship worked. Little by little, Ulysses became distant. I threw myself into my studies. I probably neglected him. Our twin orbits diverged, and one day he was gone from my life. Should I have fought? Should I have tried to save what we'd built together? Would it have changed anything? I met Jean-Baptiste. He was charming, it was easy. Then I learned from Mark that Ulysses had left Bordeaux. Life went on. I finished my studies. I found a job in a bank. We moved in together, Jean-Baptiste and I. We quickly settled into a routine. Weeks, months, years passed without me really noticing. Is this truly happiness, or is it only a comfortable status quo that I never had the courage to challenge? I have a strange sensation, as if I'd suddenly woken from a long sleep, a sleep that had lasted for years. I check the time, 9:35. I'm going to be late if I don't leave right now. I put on my coat and set off for the short walk between the apartment and the branch office of the bank where I work. She can leave for work and is going to be late at 9:30? You need a French bank job. French bank sounds like a bank robbery. But like, you'd expect the bank to be open at 9, which means she'd be leaving for work and worrying about being late at gone 8:30, not gone 9:30. I go into the bank, I say hi to Martine on the counter and then shut myself in my office. I have a stack of files to deal with, but I can't concentrate. Oh, she's not on the counter, she's in the back office. I stop at the apartment after work to take a shower and change. People who are in back offices don't need to be there when it opens, don't need to stay late, don't do as much work, but get paid twice as much. Hi. Yeah, if you're customer facing, you do the most work and you get the worst pay. It's just a fact. Banking, retail, office, because the receptionist does a lot more than anyone thinks the receptionist does, and the receptionist gets paid the least of everyone on that floor. I guarantee it. I think even the cleaner gets paid more. Then I hop on a tram to join Marie, Robin and Jean-Baptiste at the restaurant. I open the door of the brasserie and plunge into the warm fug, the hubbub punctuated by the gurgle of the espresso machine. Oh my god. Plunge, fug and gurgle. Jean-Baptiste loves this place. It's just under his old apartment. Plus Marie and Robin don't live far away. They just had a baby, and an evening out from time to time, it's like a breath of fresh air for them. I pass the bar and say hi to Michael, the owner. Or Michelle. I think that's Michelle. He seems surprised to see me, but before I can kiss him hello, he's called away from an order from the other side of the counter. At the end of the room, Robin is waving to me. I sit down opposite him. At the end of the table, there's a pram. Marie's gone out to take a phone call. Everything all right? Oh, yes. You know, I'm guessing there's more problems with the christening. He looks a bit like Kurt Russell. Not present day Kurt Russell, like overboard Kurt Russell, but blonder. If I had any idea what kind of nightmare it was going to be, I'd never have let that priest get his claws into my progeny's spiritual life. It's pointless, but it makes Marie happy. And I think of it as a good deed. They need fresh meat for their quotas. I really get the feeling that people are getting more worked up about this than they do about weddings. And yet, you're not married, so we couldn't really say that you've got a reliable point of reference. Robin laughs. That's true, but I promise you I'm immune after all this nonsense. I lean over the pram. The baby is fast asleep. And how's my favourite little niece? You can see she enjoys the hustle and bustle just like her auntie. I feel a hand on my shoulder. It's Marie. She's back, phone in hand. We hug. Sorry, I had to take a call from work. You'd think they'd just be leaving all the files on my desk for me to deal with after my maternity leave. So how's things with you? She seems to be good friends with them. I breathe out a sigh. Well, you're not going to believe this, but I got a package from Ulysses this morning. Ulysses, your ex? Himself. That's surprising, isn't it? You broke up, 3 years ago? What was in the package? A record, a vinyl. That's all? No, nothing? Not just the record. No, just the record, without any explanation. Ah, yes, I remember. The record store guy, right? Don't know why you guys broke up. He was really cool. Marie glances at Robin, who buries himself back in the wine list. I wasn't sure what that... It being really close to the bottom of my screen and cutting off the very bottom of the words is kind of making me second guess if I'm reading it correctly. So no, nothing. It's odd, isn't it? Yes. What was on the record? Did you listen to it? Yeah, a 45, no label, no idea of the artist or the group. I tried to remember the music itself, but I can't seem to recall the melody. The sound was fairly pop, pretty modern. I don't think it was. It's definitely not pop. A whole load of memories came flooding back when I listened to it. It was really weird. I really felt like it was actually reliving the past, the night when Ulysses and I broke up. Mind you, it's set in France. Maybe this is what French pop sounds like. Still, it's a little out of order of him. No news for years and he sends you a record now without any explanation. So anyway, what are you going to do? I don't know. I have to admit I'm a bit messed up. On the one hand, if Ulysses has decided to send me a record after 3 years of radio silence, it must be important to him. On the other, without any explanation, I've got no idea what he's trying to tell me. You should stop by his record store. That would be a good idea if he still worked there. He left Bordeaux after you split up, didn't he? Yes, still, that's not a bad idea. Mark, his old partner, is probably the most likely to know what's happened to him since he left. I'll stop by there tomorrow evening on the way home. I hope you can help me clear all this up. Listen, I don't want to hurry you, but could we order so we can get home before the next feed? Aren't we going to wait for Jean-Baptiste? Marie and Robin look at me bemused. Jean-Baptiste? Yeah, he was seeing some Chinese customers today, but he shouldn't be much longer. Alice, who's this Jean-Baptiste? I don't know what to say. How can they not know who Jean-Baptiste is? Jean-Baptiste, my boyfriend, you know. We had dinner with you quite a few times. We even spent a weekend together this summer on the bay, don't you remember? Marie looks worried. Robin is glancing around nervously. I let out a shaky laugh. You're kidding me, right? Are you sure you're okay, Alice? This summer on the bay, you were with Arthur. You broke up 2 or 3 weeks after. You've never introduced us to any Jean-Baptiste. Robin nods in agreement. I don't understand. I don't remember any Arthur. My head is spinning. I stand up, spots dance in front of my eyes. Robin rushes to catch me by the shoulder. Alice, you're scaring me. Are you all right? Yes, I need some air. I turn and hurry through the brasserie. Behind me I hear Marie say to Robin, let her go, we'll call her tomorrow. Then I'm out on the street. The cool night air helps me collect my thoughts. Did I erase Jean-Baptiste? Or is he there and other people have no knowledge of him? A little further away on the sidewalk, I make up the familiar shape of Jean-Baptiste. He's smoking a cigarette. The Jean-Baptiste I know had stopped smoking. We stopped together. I fumble in my coat pocket. I pull out a packet of Galoise, half empty. It shouldn't be there. There's no rational explanation why I should have a packet of smokes on me. Unless Jean-Baptiste is seeming. He smiles at me. I can't stay here staring at him from a distance. I have to take a decision, but I don't know if I should turn away or go and talk to him. I hesitate. I'm curious. I go nearer. Jean-Baptiste rummages through his pockets and holds a lighter out to me. I notice that I still have the packet of cigarettes in my hand. So you moved into his place, so does that mean when you go home, it's not your house anymore? I take one out and let him light it for me. Are you all right? The way he looks at me, his manner, are those of someone aren't those of someone who shared several years of my life. He doesn't remember me, us either. It's at this precise moment that something that was just an impression, a suspicion, kind of out there, the thought which couldn't actually happen in real life, strikes me full force. This man who I was making plans for the future with yesterday is watching me with indifference, mildly disturbed by my distress. I'm a stranger to him and it hurts badly. And now, there he is, right in front of me, waiting for me to answer. Yes, fine, thanks. It's just that, how should I say it? My day's been emotional. I get exactly what you mean. We're on a slippery slope which I decide not to continue down. I don't know how I'll react if he asks me what happened in my day, and I know he's about to do just that. Haven't we met already? Your face looks familiar. I don't think so. I'd remember you. Do you often drink here? He nods towards the window behind me. Maybe you just saw me in there sometime. I come here a lot. I don't know. Maybe. Probably. Jean-Baptiste drops his cigarette and crushes it with his foot. Sorry, but I have to go. Do you want me to ask Michelle? Yeah, it's not Michael. Michelle to get you a taxi? No, that's kind, but it's fine. Is that why when you waved at him, he didn't want to have a conversation with you? Because to you, you're familiar, and to him, you're just a random person that he sees every once in a while as a customer. He starts back to the bistro and then changes his mind and returns to pick up his cigarette end. He takes a chance to look at me again as if he was searching for an elusive memory or a word on the tip of the tongue. He flashes me an embarrassed smile accompanied by a good night before disappearing into the bistro. I say where I am, in the cold, dragging on my cigarette, my heart in my shoes. Then I turn away and head up the street towards the tram stop. The first thing I do when I get back to the apartment is to bolt the door behind me. I had the feeling of being followed on my way home. I'm probably being a bit paranoid, but well, who knows? Someone breaking into my home during the night would really just top my day off. The second thing I do is go to the bedroom and open Jean-Baptiste's side of the closet. I'm not particularly surprised to find it full of my old clothes, things I thought I got rid of. I go out on the balcony and light a cigarette. As I stand musing, I look at the apartment and I'm aware of a number of small differences that I hadn't noticed earlier in the day. There's no phone charger or small coins in the bowl on the dresser in the hall. The old games console, which has never been plugged back in since the move, is no longer on its shelf under the TV. The big photo of New York has been replaced by a tattered old poster from a regional rock music festival. The record, though, still dominates the kitchen table, exactly where I left it earlier in the day. It seems impossible, but it's as if by putting on the 45 on the turntable, I'd truly returned to my past. As if by choosing to run after Ulysses the night after we broke up, I hadn't met Jean-Baptiste at the bar. As if I'd returned to a present where I'm single, where Jean-Baptiste and I never met. I could try listening to the record again to get to the bottom of this, but I'm afraid of making things worse. If it really does have the power to change my past, it could have catastrophic consequences in my life. What do they call that again? The butterfly effect. I hope Mark will help me clear this up. At least he should be able to tell me what's happened to Ulysses. I grab my phone and leave an apologetic message for Marie, assuring her that everything's fine. I'm sorry I slipped away so early. Then I crush out a cigarette and crawl under my covers in hope of sleep. Saint-Michel. I realise that I've hardly set foot in this district since I split up with Ulysses. The store that Mark shared with Ulysses is in a little semi-pedestrian street on a corner. I used to come by here almost every day after my college classes a few years ago. When I push the door open, I'm assailed by the characteristic odour of old records, similar yet distinct from the smell of old books. The big speakers fixed to the ceiling blare out a strident fuzz guitar solo at a volume theoretically much too high for a business establishment. I'd be incapable of saying whether it was some obscure 70s garage band or the pop rock movement contemporaries trying to imitate their elders. Mark is reading the sleeve with interest. Only when I reach the other side of the counter does he deign to look up. He smiles at me, then murmurs something incomprehensible in the din. I gesture to him that I can't hear anything, pointing at my ears. He flaps his hand at me to wait and then turns the volume on his amp down to something better adapted to the conversation. I was saying they're a local band, pretty powerful, huh? I've signed them for an EP, just got the pressing. What's amazing with Mark is, even if we hadn't seen each other for probably over a year, he behaves as if we'd spent yesterday evening together. Hello Mark, are you okay? Everything's cool, thanks, and you? What brings you down here? Have you heard from Ulysses lately? No? Mark seems a little surprised at the question. Now you mention it, it's been an age. The last I heard he was in Paris. But when I say last, it was 6 months ago. I called him from a customer who was looking for Magma Originals. After it's true, we've kind of lost contact since. Mark breaks off. I guess that in some way he must blame me a little for what happened between Ulysses and me, seeing as how our breakup also cost him his business partner. Anyway, so no news of Ulysses lately. But why'd you ask? He sent me a record. I decided to get straight to the point. A record? Yeah, no explanation, no return address, nothing. Just a vinyl record in a package. To tell the truth, the only clue that told me that it came from him was his handwriting for the address. Mark watches me with an odd intensity. Did I spark his interest when I mentioned the record? Or is it something else? Concern? Or fear? Could you describe the record to me? I can do better than that. I'm about to fish the record out of my bag when Mark gestures at me to stop. He hails someone who's rummaging in the reggae Afro beatbox behind me. Hey sir. His target turns with an air of feigned innocence. He's a guy in his 50s who wears a black leather biker jacket and a snug matching pants. His hair, which is slicked back rockabilly style, is, considering his age, the improbable uniform black of a bottle of hair dye. Can I help you? The guy grumbles in discontent, shakes his head and saunters towards the exit. Mark waits for the closing door to ring the bell before hanging above. Mark waits for the closing door to ring the bell hanging above it before continuing. Did that guy follow you by any chance? Follow me? Yeah, follow you. How should I put it? Have you had the feeling that you're being watched since you received the record? Yes, I've had that feeling. Since yesterday evening on my way home. Well, I figured I was being paranoid. Why would somebody tell me? And anyway, why would you suspect that guy especially? Mark can't repress a smile. Two things. An old rockabilly who I don't know in my shop. They're an endangered species. I guarantee they all come in here, no exceptions, at least once a week for a coffee or a beer. They never buy anything, but they're cool and they've always got amazing stories to tell. Okay, that seems a bit of a stretch, but never mind. And a guy in leathers and boots going through the Afrobeat box for 10 minutes, if that's not suspicious. I burst out laughing. Okay, that's very suspicious, you're right. Mark leans over the counter to check who is actually in his shop. There's a couple of students giggling in the depths of the shop and a guy meticulously comparing the covers of 2 copies of Frank Zappa's Hot Rats, the headphones of the open access turntable clamped over his ears. Okay, coast clear. I slip the record from my bag and place it on the counter. It's a 45, white label, a test pressing. No scribe number in the groove, one of the 2 sides is a mirror side. Mark smiles. You haven't forgotten the jargon then? After the time I spent with Ulysses, I think it's lodged in my brain forever. You can put it away, I know what it is. Really? It's not a white label, it's an acetate, a single copy. That's why there's no matrix number. I put the record back in my bag. But I'm surprised you don't recognise it. Ulysses unearthed it a while before you split up. It was the only record he wanted to keep when he left, which meant I had to buy his share of the stock. I would have preferred that he take the psychedelic shelf. It would have saved me taking out a bank loan. Did you listen to it? Yeah, I put it on once on the headphones. That was quite enough for me. Oh yeah? Look, I'm no angel, right? I know the effect of psychedelics, mushrooms, LSD, mescaline, saliva. I've tried pretty much everything, but I've never had a trip like the one that record took me on. What did you see? What did the record show you? Mark takes a deep breath and looks away. It's personal. It took me back to a moment in my life that I'd rather forget. A turning point, I guess you'd call it. Tell me more. No, sorry, I prefer not to go into detail. But you must know what I'm talking about. You listened to it, didn't you? There are quite a few legends going around about the recording, you know. Some people claim that it's the last recording of a Delta bluesman who made a pact with the devil. It's kind of the holy grail of record collectors, if you see what I mean. There's plenty of crazies who say it's got magical powers. If I were you, I'd be very careful. That record attracts trouble. And to be honest, it makes me pretty anxious about Ulysses. It's obviously the most precious thing he possesses. Him sending it to you by post like that, it's not a good sign. After everything you've just told me, yes, it is worrying. Do you have his telephone number? The simplest thing would be to try and reach him for a start, right? Mark nods and picks up the handset. He hangs up a few seconds later. It's sending me direct to his answer phone telling me my correspondence voicemail box is full, which isn't totally surprising with Ulysses. We're interrupted by the sound of a bell which hangs over the door. A young girl with colourful outfit and improbable hairdo approaches the counter. She apologises when she shyly asks Mark if he still has tickets for the dog concert. Mark takes the tickets from beneath the counter and makes the sale. I gaze after the young woman as she leaves. Mark clears his throat loudly at me. He watches me with a smirk. I realise I was probably staring at his customer so hard that he noticed. That style would suit you. Do you think? I'm surprised to find myself considering the possibility. Then again, it's not as if my job gives me that much leeway fashion-wise. I don't know, I'm not persuaded that my bosses would find it quite as cool as you do. What was in your head going into finance? I'm a personal financial advisor in a little city centre bank in Bordeaux. It's not exactly what I call going into finance. Anyway, what were you saying? That Ulysses is impossible to reach, and that's not really surprising. I'll give you his address if you want. Do you go up to Paris sometimes for work? Mark grabs a paper and pen. It can happen, but like once a year max. In any case, it's not going to happen anytime soon. Same for me, I just got back from vacation. It'd be kind of tricky to justify a trip to Paris. I've written down his number too, just in case. Mark gives me the paper. The first to hear anything calls the other, alright? I nod. Thanks, Mark. You should drop by more often. It's good to see you. As they say, don't be a stranger. You're right. You're right, I'll try to come by more often in the future. My apartment looks like a bomb site. I had sensed that something was wrong as soon as I entered the communal areas. The door of the apartment was already ajar, and when I pushed it open, I prepared myself for the spectacle I was about to confront. Every square centimetre has been carefully searched, every closet emptied, every drawer turned out. I pick up a cushion which lays on the living room floor and replace it on the couch before dropping down next to it, dejected. I realise that Mark's warning weren't unfounded. Someone really wants that record. And that person is ready to enter my home while I'm away to achieve their ends. Was it the old rockabilly who was spying on me in the record store? He didn't seem particularly dangerous. On the other hand, a record with the power to change the past. I totally understand that someone might want to get hold of it, even if that means breaking a few laws along the way. To be honest, I find it a bit difficult to understand this desire to change the past. I guess that personally I'd prefer to move forward. And anyway, it would be playing with fire, right? The record was already stolen by has already stolen my relationship with Jean-Baptiste. I'm going to have to figure out how it works if I want to get my life back. At the moment, the only solid lead I have is Ulysses. I take out my phone and dial the number that Mark gave me. Maybe I'll be luckier than him, you never know. Apparently not, because I am also welcomed by a recorded operator's voice telling me in a monotone voice that your correspondence voicemail box is full. Beneath that number there's an old address, Saint-Ouen. I know what I have to do. I could pack my bags and leave for Paris right now. It's not as if anyone or anything is keeping me here in Bordeaux. But perhaps I shouldn't be confusing speed with haste. I could also spend this evening and tomorrow getting ready to go. What should I do? I think you should call the police and say someone broke into your place and turned it over. I think that's what you should do. Leave the day after. I begin by calling a locksmith to come by and repair my door while I drag my suitcase from the top of the closet. Next I try to call my boss, the bank manager, but he has already switched off his work phone for the night. Damn. I have to drop in at the bank tomorrow to let him know I'm going. I spend the evening tidying up the apartment. The next day my boss is understanding but firm and insists that I transfer all my ongoing files to my colleagues. In the end, I only managed to catch a train to Paris at the end of the afternoon.